Para The Millennial Way Show, yo soy Ismael Triviño. Nuestro siguiente invitado es realmente lo que podríamos definir como un superhumano o un completo loco. Su nombre es Jonas Deichmann y acaba de completar el triatlón más largo del mundo en 429 días, después de cubrir nadando, corriendo y en bicicleta 27,000 kilómetros, lo que equivale a 120 pruebas IronMan. El señor Deichmann fue el primero en establecer récords ciclistas en los 3 grandes cruces continentales. Me refiero a Eurasia, de Portugal a Vladivostok, en 64 días, la legendaria Panamericana de Alaska a la Patagonia en 97 días y la ruta desde Cabo Norte, en Noruega, a la ciudad del Cabo de Sudáfrica en 72 días. Un mes entero más rápido que el récord mundial anterior. El señor Deichmann, también conocido orador y motivador, ha querido abordar los problemas medioambientales con su proyecto y recaudar fondos para una organización benéfica de protección de la selva tropical. Hace poco pudimos hablar con él y esta es la entrevista. Jonas, thank you very much for being today on the Millennial Way Show. It's a pleasure and an honor. I would like to start asking you, how did you start? How was that beginning for the people that we don't know you in this part of the world? How was the Jonas beginning moments in this world of adventures and breaking holders as an athlete?
Well, when I was still a child and I was doing competitions and mostly cycling, so I had to have an athletic background. And then during university, I had a lot of time and I had a dream of traveling and seeing the world, but I had no money. So I thought, why not doing it on the bicycle? And I traveled on the bicycle once around the world, but it was no record. It was just pure adventure. And then after university, I thought, why not combining those two things, the adventure of the bike journey and doing professional sports from my childhood. And when you do this, you come to the question, how fast can you cycle across the continent? And that's what I did the past 4 years. I did set a few cycling world records. Also, for example, the Panamericana from Alaska to Patagonia in Argentina in 97 days. And after setting the records for all the continents, I thought, like, now I want to do a new discipline. And I always dreamed about going around the world. So that's why how I came up with this idea of doing the first triathlon around the world.
Jonas, but what is your when you decided to do this triathlon around the world? You were working as you had like a 9-to-5 regular job, or you were actually living from these kind of adventures? How was your regular life when you decided, okay, I'm gonna change my complete life and make this world triathlon around actually the whole globe?
I already was a professional adventurer at that time. After I studied international business and after university, I worked for 2 years as a software consultant and sales manager in Germany. And at that point, I set my first world record. And that was 4 years ago, in 2017. And after setting the first world record, I didn't want to go back into the 9-to-5 job. And I decided to quit and set all on this, on the opportunity to become a full-time adventurer. And then I did the next world record and another one, and I started to be able to live from it. But when I eventually got the idea of doing the triathlon around the world, which was 2 years ago, at that point, it was already my job. And I'm living mostly from sponsorships and public speaking engagement with companies and books and films.
Amazing. Let's go to the part of the 3 disciplines. Let's start with the swimming. With the swimming part, what was the most difficult part? Where actually was that most difficult part, and when, and how you succeed? Because what I was reading about your life is that actually you didn't swim that much, right? And this question actually comes from Colombia, from Carlos Guerrero.
Exactly. I was a kind of professional cyclist, or I did several cycling world records. So that was my by far strongest disciplines. And I also was a quite decent runner, but I had zero background in swimming. I mean, I could survive. I'm not going to die in the water, but I never had any swimming technique training or was doing any competitions. I was a bit better than an absolute beginner. And for that reason, swimming was the most challenging discipline for me. It is just very, very boring because you're just seeing water all the time. I mean, I was swimming like 7-8 hours every day for 54 days. And the only thing you see there is water. When you're cycling and you're running, you can distract yourself, you can listen to music, you can see an interesting landscape, you meet people, and swimming is just you in the water. So it's very boring. The most challenging part for me were the big crossings. I mean, I swam along the entire Croatian coast, but a few times I had to cross over to a peninsula or to an island. And that was sometimes 7, 8, 9 kilometers at open sea. And I was swimming without a support boat. So I was completely on my own. And I remember the very first crossing, I actually I miscalculated the currents and I got into the dark. And I found myself like 3-4 kilometers off the coast, completely alone in the dark ocean. And that's like even outside of my comfort zone.
Wow, that's crazy. And during those moments that completely darkness, all by yourself, not watching nothing, just swimming, what was going on in your mind? Did you have like a mantra? What were you thinking?
Well, in those the toughest moments, there is zero doubt, zero space for doubt. You really have to be clear. You have to know exactly what you want and be 100% focused. So in my mind, I always believe 100% that I can do it. There's no words like I hope I can do it. If everything works well, I will make it across. Or hopefully those words don't exist. I can do it, and in 2 hours I'm back on shore. That's the only thing that's in my mind. And so it's a lot about positive thinking, and also about breaking big goals down into small ones. So at that point, I'm not thinking like how far it is. I rather think like, if I swim now for another 10 minutes, then I stop quickly and I eat something, and then I'm happy again, and then I continue swimming further, and eventually I will reach the shore.
Got it. But do you have any particular mantra in your mind while you are either swimming or while you are on the bicycle or running? Because I have met few IronMan triathletes that they have any kind of mantra, like repeating a sentence or repeating some keywords. In your case, during the disciplines, what goes on your mind?
I do visualize some nice things, of course. I do visualize the arrival. I visualize things like Lake Baikal, for example, was always something I was looking forward to, and I do visualize those things in my mind, of course. And when cycling and running, I also sing, because it's a lot about distracting myself, and I plan my next adventures. So this is what's going on in my mind. But if there's not a sentence, I'm always telling myself that's just not the case. And I think a lot about food. Food is a big motivator when you are out there in the wild on your own.
I can imagine. We're gonna go to nutrition in the questions. Let's go to the cycling. One of your favorite parts, let's say. In this cycling, which part was the most challenging moment, and how do you overcome it?
Well, in the cycling leg, the by far most challenging part was Russia, because I had planned this trip before COVID. So originally I wanted to cycle from Turkey, southern warm route across Iran, Pakistan, India, Southeast Asia. But I ended up cycling across Russia in winter, and then running across Mexico in summer, because Russia was simply the only country that let me in Asia. And I was there still in the middle of winter, so the temperatures were a bit cold. and challenging. I had a few snowstorms, and like most of the days actually was pretty horrible conditions. Um, the worst actually taking a lot of care that I don't sweat. It was actually okay. The worst days for me they were when in early spring when temperatures got up to around 0 degrees at during the day and then -15, -16, 17 Celsius at night, and everything is wet and then it freezes and there is no gear that can protect you in that. This is absolutely hell. And even my bike made a lot of problems. I had a frozen chain and other things and logistics because this is taking a lot of care that I don't sweat. It was actually okay. The worst days for me they were when in early spring when temperatures got up to around 0 degrees at during the day and then -15, -16, 17 Celsius at night, and everything is wet and then it freezes and there is no gear that can protect you in that. This is absolutely hell. And even my bike made a lot of problems. I had a frozen chain and other things and logistics because this was actually to pee on it. So I had to pee on my bike a few times to defreeze it. And that's the only thing that works when you're out in the wild.
Wow, that's quite something. Let's go to the running part, Jonas. Which moment was the most difficult and why? And of course, how you succeed?
Running is pretty tough on the body because there's never a recovery. On cycling, sometimes you have the wind at your favor or you go down and you recover, and the running parts, there is never a recovery. For me, the most difficult parts were actually the first marathons. When I started in Tijuana, I haven't run for 7 months because I was cycling and swimming, and my legs they were just in incredible pain. I was thinking like in the evening and in the morning, and at that point when you think, okay, this is how you feel after 2 marathons, and you have another 118 to go, then that's very, very demotivating. But in my mind, arriving in Cancun, that was my big vision. But in the day-to-day business, I wasn't running 120 marathons. I wasn't running 1 marathon. I was just running to the next tacos, to the next restaurant, and then I was happy again. And like 300 tacos later, I was in Cancun. So it's this kind of breaking down big goals and small ones and rewarding yourself that really helps to get across challenging parts when the finish line is difficult to see.
Wow, Jonas. Let's talk about actually nutrition. Before you, what were you dreaming about eating? I don't know, a burger or what? I don't know what was that dream. How did you manage the nutrition for the complete journey?
Well, at that point, I have to say I was going unsupported, so there was no team around. On the swimming leg, I was pulling a raft with my supplies with me. On the cycling, I had it on the bike, and when I was running, I was pulling a trailer with my food and everything. So in theory, of course, I should get pasta, I should get energy bars and everything, but that doesn't work when there is no team around. I was simply eating whatever I found and as much as I can. It can be tacos, it can be enchiladas, or it can be something else in Russia. It doesn't matter as long as I get enough calories. I actually got once.
Yes,
I actually got once asked got once by a health magazine if I could give them nutrition advice, and my answer was, you really don't want this because I can eat fast food, I can eat chocolate, and as long as I get my calories, I can perform.
Got it. And when you were mentioning that when you were also or either swimming or running or cycling, you thought in your head that you were dreaming in that amazing, delicious food. What was that food that you were dreaming of in these challenging moments?
I think basically all the time about foods. A lot about chocolate that really works. And in Mexico, I love the foods, tacos, enchiladas, and everything. I also actually tried a few quite exotic dishes like worms, for example, and grasshoppers and other things, and it all helps. It's about when you're out in the desert or in Siberia or in the sea alone, you're usually hungry, so you always think about food.
Jonas, how many countries did you travel? Did you visit in this fascinating journey?
This trip went across 16 countries. It would have been a bit more, but with the pandemic, I choose a route that goes across as few countries as possible because border crossings were very, very complicated.
Got it. And from this amazing journey, which will be the best lesson that you can take from it?
The most important lesson for me is that the hardest thing is always to get to the starting line. Meaning that whenever you have a challenging project, there are always excuses. There are always a lot of reasons why you shouldn't do this now, why you should prepare more, why you should maybe wait a little bit more. But the reality is that there never is the perfect time for it. And if you believe 100% in it, you can do it. Imagine I wasn't a swimmer. I basically never swam again, and now I have the record for the longest ever unsupported swim with 460 kilometers. Because in the end, it is a matter of the mindset and of the motivation. And the same is not only true for me as an athlete. It's the same with entrepreneurship. If you have to dream to build your own company, or if you have to dream to do a big journey and travel, most projects fail before they ever start, because it's always easier to not change, to stay in your comfort zone. But inside your comfort zone, life is comfortable, but there isn't really much happening.
Amazing. I understand that you also are a motivational speaker, right? The people that you, when you are invited, are they always athletes or triathletes, or are conventional, regular executives? Which is the audience, and which are your topics of discussion?
Well, I do different speeches for different audiences, but most of the time I speak with companies, executives, or sales organizations, and the topics are the mindset behind those adventures. Because yes, physics are important, of course, and preparation, everything, but in the end, when it really gets hard, it's all a matter of your mindset, your motivation, your goal setting, your resilience, and the things I use to be successful as an athlete, they are pretty much exactly the same what you use to be successful in business. And this is the topic of my speeches, using the storytelling from the triathlon around the world, and help companies with those techniques.
Jonas, I understand also that in this world journey record that you just finished, you also had an environmental message, right? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, I traveled in the last years, I traveled to more than 100 countries, and everywhere I have seen the challenges of climate change. It's simply a fact. And now the pandemic is everywhere in our mind and in the news, but the climate change doesn't go away. It's the biggest challenge we will have in the future. And I love the nature. So this is something that's really personal to me. And with my project, I want to show that if I can go around the world with my own body and my own power and complete 120 Ironman, then maybe everyone can think, do I really need the car to drive to the bakery and get my bread in the morning, or maybe I cycle or walk there. So it's about the small things that simply make a difference.
Jonas, when I told our audience that we were going to have the opportunity to speak with you, they sent us all a bunch of questions from around the world, and they repeat this one several times, and it was how many times you thought in quitting, and how did you manage it?
Never. It was for not a single second in option. It is simply when I committed to this project, I committed 100%. And from that moment, quitting is not an option. I somehow make it. And a key lesson you can take from this is having very, very small targets. It's when I'm in the water and it's tough, or when I'm in Siberia and it's tough, I focus on the next kilometer. I focus on getting to the next restaurant, and I will get warm again, and life will look better, and I can always make it to the next restaurant. So this is the only thing that matters. And the next day, life is already looking a bit better. It's something I learned from experience, that after every moment where you are really low, it's actually a good thing, because most likely things are going to improve. Huh?
Wow, very interesting. Jonas, last question, and we really appreciate your time. What will be your message to the new generations to overcome fears, pains, and succeed in moments of despair? Well, you had a lot of moments of pain, for sure.
Well, my message is to dream big and follow your dreams. It's often very hard. If you go the conventional way, you go the way that everyone else does, then you may have a comfortable life, but not a special one. And failing is part of it. If you try things, you will sometimes fail. But if you dream big, you will do things with a passion. You will give 100%, and you will actually enjoy the journey. I personally enjoy the overtime and everything that I put in to be good in what I'm doing. And you only live once, so you better do something with your life that it's worth it. And finding this, what is your passion, and also having the courage to commit to it and say, yes, I will follow this way. This is a big challenge, but probably the most important one in life.
Well, Jonas Deichmann, superhuman, 120 Ironmans, full Ironmans, completed the whole around the world in a triathlon, author of the new book, The Limit Is Just Me. It was a pleasure and an honor to have you today on the Millennial Way Show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and my pleasure.
I hope to see you soon, and when you come to Miami, Florida.
It's definitely on my list for future adventures.
Excellent. Do you have any other challenge on for 2022, or you're going to be working on your book?
There's always a new challenge, but for 2022, I'm having some. I'm mostly working on the book and speeches and the film and everything. I'm having some smaller adventures in Baja California, for example, and some more things in Mexico and Alaska. And the next big challenge, that's then in 2023, and of course, top secret.
Well, Jonas, from now, good luck, the best of luck, Godspeed, and keep dreaming in that fascinating food while you are in the moments of pain.
Thank you so much, and let's catch up soon.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bueno, ahí lo tuvieron. Esperamos que les haya gustado esta entrevista con Jonas Deichmann, que superhumano, realmente fuera de serie, poder vivir de la aventura. ¡Wow! Demasiado meritorio e inspirador. Recuerden que esta entrevista la pueden ver no solo en nuestro website www.themillennialwayshow.com y nuestro canal de YouTube, sino también en formato podcast, en Spotify, estamos en iHeartRadio, en TuneIn Radio, en Apple Podcast, entre otras plataformas. Déjenme saber acá sus mensajes, qué tal les pareció esta entrevista, y recuerden que esto es The Millennial Way Show, empoderando las nuevas generaciones. Hasta la próxima.